Well, hi all. I've met so many folks. I know so many of the names in the chat, but as I mentioned before we started recording, 137 folks signed up for Customer Success Bootcamp. So I will not be so presumptuous to think that I have met all of you live, although would love to. So if you're out and about in the space and you see this face, be sure to come say hello. I'm going to talk through our plan. And make sure that's what you think you signed up for. So if it's not, you'll know early on that you should bail and cut bait. But I'm hoping it is, in fact, why you were planning to be here. So this is going to go for 3 weeks. Then we have a work week. And then we have the 4th week, which will be in April. So the first 3 weeks is really ramping up customer success and lifecycle insights. Today is going to be an overview. I'm going to make sure everyone understands what needs to be done in the VCIO side of the house to make you most successful in the customer success side of the house. We're going to make sure security groups are set up, et cetera. And then I'm going to give you a sneak peek. So even those of you who are doing all the things in customer success, you're going to see some things that haven't been released yet. So hang on to the end. It is often difficult when I've got folks who have never logged into it and folks who could be giving this boot camp with me to make sure everybody gets something. But I forced development to let me show their secret sneak peek so that everybody would make sure they got value out of today. And yes, on my screen, you know who I'm talking to. You're right next to me there. I won't be offended if you multitask till we get to that, but you probably do want to see the sneak peek. Week 2, we're going to talk about segmentation, health, and effort. I'm hoping it is a combo platter of me showing you how the functionality works in the platform, which is not that challenging. The challenging part is deciding what metrics you want to use and what best practices your company will implement. So my goal for next week will be us talking best practices, again, with 50 some odd folks already on the call and 80 more listening to the recording. I think we'll have lots of folks who can share. So I ask you to not be shy along the way. Week 3 will be stack alignment and goals. Then again, we will skip a week. And in the bonus week, there will be new features again released. So we'll probably have 2 different sets of new features. What I'm going to show you today will be released not this weekend, but next weekend. And then we plan on having some more in April. So we really aim to drive a lot of value as we go through this boot camp. I have put a quote on the bottom of this page. If you were with me for Tuesday's webinar, I'm not repeating Tuesday's webinar, but I am sharing a couple of the quotes because I really liked this one. It says the purpose of a business is to create a customer who creates customers. I think all of the folks on this call, many of the folks on this call know that we believe that to be true. Is we don't have salespeople, we have customer success people, and all of you are our salespeople. So we thank you for that. High five. It's the first time we've ever gotten folks to pay us to be our salespeople. So we feel like that's a good life hack. But you understand what I mean because you all grow by word of mouth too, right? So you ask for referrals, you grow through customer success, and I believe that to be true. Create customers who want to create more customers for you. So that's what we're going to aim to track in our customer success platform. Today, intro and overview. So I'm going to give you a couple stories because you spend an hour and a half with Morning Stock when you can bet you're going to get some story time. So if you weren't seeing that coming, then we clearly have not met before. So fair warning, feel free to sign off now or go get your lunch because I'm going to tell a story or 2. We'll dive into the prep and we will actually have you log in and do the work. Not offended at all if some folks will just take that time to check their email while other folks get set up. I have folks swear the only human on this call with me today is the only human doing customer success and VCIO work in their company. And I have others who are managers of VCIOs and those VCIOs. So obviously results will vary. My plan as the weeks go is to give a few minutes so everybody can at least get one thing done. And then I'll save time at the end where I will stay on and work through with other folks. But I do want you to actually be logging in and playing along at home. Like I said, we'll set up security groups. I do want to make sure everybody can see what they're supposed to see. Since I suspect some of you can't, I also have links to all of the articles so that you can get set up by next week. And we have a full week to make sure you can see everything you need to see. and then how to gain some traction and momentum. So that's a sneak peek into some of the new release features that we're going to show. Next quote, you've got to start with the customer experience and work backward toward the technology, not the other way around. We'll definitely share more of that. So my job is today is to help you identify your needs and starting point, teach you the technology for next steps, right? The actual clicks, share best practices, and put you on a path to success. And your job is to participate. So answer polls, type in the chat, ask questions, feel free to eat on the call. It does do this former teacher good to see faces smiling or frowning, right? If you're frowning, I know I've got to stop. And if you're smiling, I keep right on rolling. But staring at lots of blank boxes for me is like, I don't know what to do with that. Again, log into Lifecycle, play along at home, and then do the homework, right? To be most successful, I will assign homework. And so if you have any struggles along the way, just reach out for help. Absolutely put things in the chat. I see 3 chats along the way. Yes, I will share slides at the end of this, along with the recording will get sent out. Mark will respond to chats as he can and poke me if I haven't seen it fast enough. So please feel free to jump in along the way. Okay, so my evolution, it's time for story time. Oh, so at this point I should say, if that wasn't your plan on why to be here and to get customer success rolling, feel free to see yourself out. I hope none of you do, but I hope that's why you're here and you don't have to spend an hour and a half going yeah, I didn't want any of that. That is why I think we're all here. So we are going to start with a little story time because I think it sets the frame of how we landed on customer success. And I think you might feel some of the same pains along the way and what we're trying to solve with our customer success platform. So I put the evolution of customer success and my hair, because as I look through the photos along the way, I started out with it really short. And here we are today, with quite a bit longer and with the customer success platform. So my first role in customer success, I'm wearing my Performance Matters shirt right there, was for an ed tech company. So I had been in education and was hired for an ed tech customer success role. And I loved the company because I loved all the data they provided. I loved the insights, and I knew how to make students move based on what I saw in the platform. So I thought that's what everybody else was doing. So I became customer success, and I thought I was going to share best practices and help people move students along the line. And what I found was I had 20 accounts in New Jersey and 13 in Maryland, and none of the people in New Jersey had been talked to in 18 months. So they were either super noisy, on fire, at risk, silent, or I didn't have any data about them right away, right? So my initial reaction was, holy crap, I don't even know what I have here. So a quick story on that. We had our fiercest customer success problem. His name was Michael. I won't share his last name because he's the only one of them on LinkedIn. So it's a unique last name. And the support team were like, send Marnie after Michael, see what she can do. So Michael had been, again, for 18 months, nobody had really talked to him, and he'd been putting in a lot of support tickets. So when I looked at the support tickets, some of them were fires and solvable, some of them were not. But I could see why Michael was angry and loud and noisy. And when he came in with a support ticket, he came in hot, and there were plenty of support tickets that hadn't been answered. So I understood why. So I asked Michael if I could come have a conversation with him. So enter my first QBR. I'll call that a PBR because it was clearly a very periodic business review, right? So when I went there, and this might be the case, if you have somebody that won't talk to you or hasn't had a conversation in a while, I had to apologize for things I had not caused, right? And so I said, Michael, I can see why you're angry. I too would be furious if I had done all of these things and not gotten any response. And so I want to tell you this. I am new to your account. I have reviewed it. I do apologize, and I would like you to give me a chance to prove myself. So I will be like a dog with a bone. We're going to talk through today everything that you have. We're going to prioritize your needs, and then you're going to give me a shot. And if I mess up, then you're welcome to yell at me in the future. But as of right now, we're going to draw a line in the sand, and we're going to just let bygones be bygones. I apologize. It's not okay. And can we move forward with this? And he said, whoo, you're feisty, Marnie Stockman. I might just be able to work with you. And so he said, yes, I will give it a shot, right? Acknowledge his pain. We're going to move forward. So when I looked through all of his stuff, we prioritized everything. I said, let's make a top 10 list. Support can't handle all the things. We made a top 10 list. Little did he know, 3 of those things were already done, but he didn't know that. So I said, good news. I can already help you with one of those things right now, a quick win. I gave him the quick win and showed him how to do it in the platform. I said, let me tell you, I think I could get these 2 if you let me deprioritize these 2, because I knew those other 2 weren't ever going to happen. He was willing to make that trade. I already knew those other 2 were done, right? So I'm already negotiating, and you have to put yourself in that role. So what I learned was QBRs are important, need the face-to-face, set the time for some value, and help them prioritize so you can get some quick wins. So that moved forward. We did quarterly business reviews because he said, yeah, I can work with you. Anyway, value number 1 learned, quarterly business reviews, and let's circle the wagons and help our clients. So we learned my favorite line. I said it all the time that year. If it's going to click. I clicked earlier. Makes maybe in slideshow mode, because I just, like I said, you'll hear me quoted at some point.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
She does need to sort out her priorities.
She needs
Oh dear, now it's gonna, okay. So at the same time, we also got 2 whales of a client. So we had in Florida, $2.1 million client, in Maryland, $1.4 million client. I had the Maryland one. That's where I live. So in the land of sorting my priorities, I had to balance all these people that hadn't been talked to and these 2 whales. So I had the one in Maryland. The owner of the company was in Florida. If you've read my book, you already know this story. I'll make it quick. Friday afternoon, my first week, I get a call. It's Friday at 5:30. Hey, Marnie, how's Anne Arundel, Hartford, Queen Anne? Started listing all of the counties. And I was like, fine, okay, a little angry, silent, like whatever the updates were. And I thought, okay, that's fine. The next Friday at 5:30, again, I've got teenage children, so I'm trying to get them out the door to all their various activities. Friday at 5:30, he must have remembered me again. Hey, Marnie, how's Anne Arundel, Hartford, Queen Anne? Again. And I thought, oh, wait, this is going to keep happening. But because he was so busy during the week with his whale of a client, he wouldn't remember me until the end of the week. And because he'd been the owner and had previously owned all of the relationships, he was worried about, like, he had just left all of his babies to me, and he didn't really know me, outside of the hiring process. So what I found by the 3rd Friday was I created a spreadsheet where I listed all of my accounts, because I don't like answering those questions in a panic while I'm trying to cook dinner and get children out the door, right? And I started my first spreadsheet with simple red, yellow, green, where I would take notes. And I shared that with him. So on Friday coming in, when he remembered that I existed at the end of the week, I could document, like, this is how everybody's doing. We're moving in the right direction, right? We're keeping calm and carrying on. So that was the first step at putting a process in place and trying to get ahead of things. So there he is. He's the one standing next to me. I did not think so we always did a skit at our annual conference. So I'm a lifeguard at the annual skit. But I did not think customer success should require life preservers and air tanks. If we learn to do the things that we have on the right? How do we prioritize our work? How do we focus? Because we're not a real lifeguard. How do we do the work we're designed to do? So I want to talk about that for just a second. One of the things I found as a customer success manager is I was answering problems that support wasn't answering because I could get a quick win and make my customer happy fast. But I wasn't helping myself because I ended up getting more work piled on myself. So part of what I had to do was train Steve. I see you nodding your head. So I suspect that's not a stranger for some folks. So I had to work out a plan where Michael still knew I was responding to him, but I got a process in place because I wasn't scalable and was already working the requisite 65 hours a week. And that was all I could put into it, right? So one of the things that I would do, 2 things, maybe a trick you can use. If you're doing face-to-face QBRs now, I would set up a 30-minute call with I had a tier 1 support person I could call. I would set up a 30-minute call after my business review with them. And while I drove home from New Jersey, I had them document all of my follow-up. So when I got back, I wasn't creating all of my follow-up and they were entering my tickets. You might not have that luxury, especially in the world of Zoom, but blocking out 15 to 30 minutes after a business review is a solid strategy for making sure the right work gets done. The other thing I would do, even though I could respond to a ticket very quickly and answer their very simple question, because it wasn't my job to do that, I needed to train them to go to the right resource. So 2 ways of doing it. I would send the correct response to the right human if they didn't know the answer and tell them respond to them. I would forward it to them and say, hey, Michael, I'm on the road. Steve's going to answer it for me. And then Steve would reply back, instant response, quick win for Steve. Michael gets his answer. He now realizes Steve might have fast answers for them. So I did that fairly regularly until I trained people to only come to me for the types of questions that they should come to me for. So if any of you have landed in my inbox and asked me an integration question, and I've said, hey, I'm going to CC for support on this, right? That's the faster way to get an integration question, because I might be on the road, is through support. So I think that's just a strategy in general. As we've grown, I now become the manager of customer success managers. I now have a red, yellow, green chart of everybody happy, healthy, and notes from them. But then we get a second product, one that is very complex. So half of our clients have a very plug and play product that they don't need any help with. The other half have a product that needs a lot of hand holding. So this brings in a master spreadsheet. And Nick, so if you've met our business partner, Nick, he's the one that runs the development side of the house. This is where I met him. We stole our company mascot, kidnapped it, and took it to all the Disney resorts and took pictures of us. And in the company going away party, we gave them a kidnapped story of Performance Pete. But we conquered the beast by creating a health spreadsheet. So one of the things we're going to do in our customer success platform is create your health metrics. So this is legit the sheet. That's not an image I took off the internet. I printed this out before I left the company and said, I like this idea of how we track customer health. Absolutely, I made sure that you could read it. I zoomed in so you would be able to read what we actually put, because as you're thinking about customer health metrics next week, I think some of these are really important to think about. We broke it up. So by the time we had this size spreadsheet, we had 1,500 employees. So we had an entire department of customer success managers. So I had a consulting team that I managed. There were customer success teams that we managed. So we really needed to automate red, yellow, and green, and we needed to see who was being held accountable. So every week, the manager would get reports from their employees around each of their clients, and they could see, is this something I'm going to need sales to address, the product team to address, support, engineering, or is it something customer success can address? So as we think about health metrics that we want to put in the platform, I do not recommend starting out with 17 metrics. I recommend starting out with 1 to 3. And then you want the minimum viable metrics, right? That is easy to calculate, that still gives you good insight. But again, this was a huge company with lots of places that they were automating data from. And I wanted you to see that kind of this is how we landed where we are. And it was this thinking that ended up with us writing the book and building Lifecycle Insights, the customer success module. Just to wrap the story around, I left that company, went to another company, got acquired back by that same company, and was really looking at, I was consulting with them at that point, and we started looking at being insanely proactive. So after we got to the point where we were spot checking, health checking along the way, again, this says student growth because I was in ed tech, so this is the real one we used. I did not make this up for the sake of this boot camp. We started looking at the year or the customer journey and how we could be proactive. So in a school system, right, in the spring, they're going to plan for the fall. So I need to have data analysis for them ahead of that. So as you think about your clients, you might not have the cyclical nature of it where something distinct happens in the fall or the winter or the spring, but I bet there's something in onboarding that you need to think about. And how can I be proactive to that? The one place that we all can nod our heads on is at renewal time. If you said that January 30th was my renewal date, dollars to donuts, you're not reaching out to me on January 30th to see how I feel about that, right? So what's the appropriate cadence ahead of my renewal date when you want to reach out? So that's something else we'll talk about in terms of like proper communication timing with your partners. So as I just walked through my roles, my evolution and my growing of my hair, right? The phases that I grew through from the customer success manager who was having all of the QBRs to the director of customer success, where I was managing the customer success managers, to now an owner of a company focused on customer success. I found it interesting that I was reading a book on customer success. It's this one. If anybody's a book nerd, I do have these resources written in the slide deck, so you'll get a copy of it. But I found this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of how customer success KPIs basically can mature. And I thought it was very interesting because this very much aligns with the way we mature our customer success program. We have to start with the business reviews as the foundation, and the KPIs are we doing them, right? When we say we're going to do them. And then we move up to stack alignment and health scoring, which is our customer success module. And then we look at ROI, churn rates, et cetera. So as the weeks go, we're actually going to, oddly enough, grow this module again from customer success to all the way up through the way we manage it. So here I am now, hair long. That one should look familiar. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, I'm the only Marnie Stockman, so you don't have to really copy the URL. You can just go on LinkedIn and type Marnie Stockman. Would love to connect. Even if you were a prospect, I wouldn't spam you. So there's no real threat of me coming after you for some gross sales opportunity on LinkedIn. Just if you have questions, that's an easy way to find me. So that said, today's plan, we're done the introduction overview. So now we're going to get to the prep. But first, some questions for you. So I just have 2 questions. So I'm going to launch this poll. If you would be so kind, the 2 questions are: what is your current familiarity with the customer success platform? And the second is, how many folks in your company deliver QBRs? I can see lots of folks responding. Those of you eating lunch, sorry if I just got, chicken salad sandwich on your keyboard. All right, perfect. I will share the poll if you're curious who we have here. So we've got a combo platter. Whoever can present with me, can't wait to hear your feedback as we go. So join in anytime. I'm not shy. I will happily share the stage. And then how many folks deliver QBRs for your MSP? So we have 9, just you, 29, 2 to 5s, and then 3 more than 5s. So I think we do have something for everyone. So perfect. Thank you. If you are, since we do have some brand news, take a look at the screen so we know what we're aiming for. One of the pieces in customer success is the segmentation chart. So 30 seconds on segmentation. Here we map MRR, so client value, right? Dollars they're bringing in, or MRR per seat versus effort. We automate the MRR piece. We automate the tickets or tickets per seat piece. That's what we do for effort. That said, you could have lots of other things that you might want to add in as an effort metric. We'll do that next week. But if you just want to automate something, the tickets piece is the first thing that automates quickly. An assessment will too, as an aside. It colors based on, again, if we're automated, the CSAT. So currently, Smileback. Crew who just reached out to me this morning. I finally got a hold of their product manager. So I know I see the head nods. Yeah. A couple of you have reached out to me and to them for me. So thank you, to make sure we get that integration rolling. Simple Sat is also on the short-term list of that. So those three should be in Q1 or Q2. And that's what will automatically color these scores. But as I mentioned, I had that whole chart of what makes for customer health. And so I think you're going to want to add some other metrics, but if we're just looking again to automate, the first thing I'm going to do today is make sure you're set up to get all the automation in place. And then next week, we're going to tweak it with things that you might want to do manually. If you are one of the 9 that said, I'm the only one that does customer success, QBRs in my company, I would say, let's start with the automation and we'll tweak later, right? We don't need to overbuild the process. Done is better than perfect, right? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Whichever of those quotes are your favorite. Okay, Coleman, 3 tools. Oh, sorry. For CSAT, they were Smileback. Crew who is, again, about to happen, and Simple Sat will be the other one that will be, again, addressed early this year. Oh, and absolutely, I am confident there are people that are in firefighting mode, and I've been in firefighting mode, right? Like that is why I wanted to tell you the story of what it was. I had 20 folks that all needed talking to, and I had to make a conscious effort to devote an hour at a time to like, what is the pattern that I'm seeing? So that I can reduce the noise all over the place. So 100% we can talk through. And yes, Ricky, CSAT from other sources can be entered manually. Yep. The other piece, and frankly, why I bet many of you are on this call is because you saw this chart and then kicked yourself in the head because you've been building a spreadsheet for years that hasn't been updated. I do appreciate the like random smiles of like, yep, she got me. So we're going to talk about, we're going to build this on the 3rd week. So by the 3rd week, your homework will be bring with you your standards and services, because we're going to go ahead and build this out. So that's a quick view into what we're aiming for. We'll get into the platform, but frankly, we're going to start on the VCIO side of the house as we talk about the prep. So I believe, oh yeah. And lastly, we're going to look at, we're really building out some management pieces. So you'll be able to filter things by, you'll be able to filter by account groups, account managers, but we've also got some other components that we're building in that I think folks will really appreciate. So I just wanted to point out that was the 3rd piece. I'm glad I actually clicked one more time. Okay, heading into the platform. Here we are in VCIO. Look, I have a slide deck right here. I mean, a sheet I'm going to share with all of you right here. It's already done. It's got the articles in it. So I'm going to talk through it. Because if you were me and we're a high school teacher, the second you hand out the worksheet, people stop paying attention and start clicking on all the things. Not naming any names, but those of you that are like, oh, she just caught me, I'm talking about you. So let's talk about what we need to automate. First up is the MRR piece. We're trying to build the segmentation chart. So I'd like all of you to log in right now. If you're not already logged in, it would behoove you to go spot check and make sure that you have actually done this, or have at least clicked enough of the buttons that you can get back there. All right, I'll assume we're logged in. The very first thing is contracts. You know, I should have asked this question in the poll and I forgot. If you are a ConnectWise Manage, now ConnectWise PSA shop, or an Autotask shop, this should be automated. If you are not, this will need to be manual until we can pull these from Synchro or Halo. What we're aiming to do is automate an MRR value for your clients. I'm going to show you what I do for Manage. Now there's some setup on your end, but that's what's on that doc that I'm going to share with you, right? Import for Manage, show agreements and additions. If I had them, you could decide what level you want to import. The same works for Autotask. That will automate every single night. So we will sync that every night. So once it's integrated, when you adjust agreements, when a new one becomes active, when one becomes inactive, that will automate overnight. So if you see any asterisks on any of your contracts here, that means you're automating the contract piece. If you don't see any asterisks, then that means these are entered manually. If you don't see any at all, that means when we go to automate this into the customer success side of the house, there won't be any data there for us to plot. So contracts first up. I'm going to go ahead and share this doc now. Everybody will have, you can view it. I would say I made little check boxes. My suggestion would be to make a copy for yourself and then actually check off what you need to do, like circle the ones you need to do and check them off when you're done. So I just put in chat. I will include it in the email. So that's step one is contracts. Again, Autotask and ConnectWise. If you have already automated but want to add additional manual contracts, please absolutely do so. Same thing for tickets. So for tickets, you can tell if you have tickets set up by clicking in more reports. And if you see either ConnectWise tickets dashboard or Autotask tickets dashboard, then you're set up and you're good to go. You absolutely are able to select which ones that are going to be automated on the other side on the customer success side of the house. So if you do not have tickets set up and you want to automate them, just follow the directions here and you should be set on that. Next up, cadence. So those two things will automate. So if you're brand new, and several of you are, if I click on VCIO and see customer success, right? This lands me in the customer success module. If you're so brand new that you haven't actually turned on customer success, you can do that and you automatically get a 30-day free trial, and we are happy to extend it past Bootcamp. So if you have not, it doesn't matter what size you are, customer success automatically gets 30 free days. So what I'm aiming for by doing those two things, contracts and tickets, that will populate this chart right here. Next up is the goal of this chart is to be able to say, how frequent should we be doing business reviews for these folks? Now, this might not be completely accurate, but it's a good initial litmus test on it. But what you're really looking at are your high value, high effort clients, right? So these should get quarterly or monthly. My large whales of clients got monthly. Now, they got monthly business reviews with me, but quarterly, I would bring the CEO of my company with me to have their exec team and our exec team meet. So you could have different cadences for different types of business reviews, but for sure, people in this quadrant need to have that conversation. Katerina, if you don't have the portal yet, then I will, Mark, anybody that doesn't have customer success turned on, when I'm done with this screen, I'll show you how to turn it on. How's that? Let me get through this screen. I'll go back and do that. Bottom right, probably semi-annual or annual. Bottom left, we call this the tech touch quadrant. This might be automation, etc. And then top left is high effort, low value. So these are the folks that frankly are probably causing angst among the company, right? They're not paying you what they're worth. They need to either be renegotiated so they land over here. You need to get them convinced that they need to get rid of their 1902 servers so that they're less painful and maybe can move down here, or they're the ones that need to be fired. If you've ever read the Michael Michalowicz's book, The Pumpkin Plan, he talks very much about how just focusing on moving these people out of this quadrant can impact the morale in your company and the profitability in your company. So I think it's very interesting. People often say, okay, the first people I need to deal with are my high value, high effort. But Michael Michalowicz would say every week you should kind of pick one of these to focus on, because if you can ease up the pain these are causing, everybody else gets better customer success along the way. All right. If you don't see the customer success portal, if you go down to account setting, now, if you are not a tenant admin, you might not see administration at all. So if you don't see administration at all, you will need to go to your tenant admin and have them follow these steps. But they would go into account settings, subscription, and then I have everything turned on because I'm in a demo site, but you should be able to see over here on the left, add customer success. It will probably tell you that it's going to charge you, but it will be free on the back end. And if it's not, I'll fix it straight away. So you can let me know if by chance you did get charged. But that's where you can turn on the customer success module. Again, you get the free trial. So during this entire class, if you just want to poke around in it, that's fine. But once you do that, it should be fairly immediate that you then can see customer success here. So I mentioned the segments because we're going to want to start tracking. Are we meeting with our clients as often as we should be meeting them? So we have some upgrades to the scheduler view that I'm going to show at the end of the call that'll start tracking toward that. But one of the things, and this is optional, this isn't an automated piece yet, but I think this is the first thing we want to start moving to. So if you have those first things done, you have contracts in, you have tickets done, let's go ahead and schedule it, right? Let's get some clients set up. You'll click into a client. We did move some buttons. So if this doesn't look familiar, pay attention. Top right, click from meetings to schedule. And this is where you can set the cadence. Is this client monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual? Side note, if you want to have different meeting types, you absolutely can. So when you're in a meeting, you can decide what types of meetings you have available, and you can change these names should you be interested. So some folks have like a quarterly check-in and a business, and a one-off phone call or a regular check-in or whatever. You can set that in account settings and business review settings here. So, Jeff, I'm going to answer that question at the end of the call because you are going to like what we have for you. So hang tight on that. You are not the only one, I think, that wants that answer to that question. So the cadence, again, I put the article in here around the scheduler. CSAT, again, we only have Smileback right now. So if you are a Smileback partner, you can check and see if it's already set up by clicking in more reports. Click, and if you see the Smileback tile with data, then you would know Smileback is turned on. If you have Smileback and don't see the data, you're going to want to go to integrations, click into Smileback, and click here for the article, which I also put in the link. But this is where it's just a button that you click and Smileback does the magic on their end. That gets the CSAT automated. And then the last piece is recommendations. And this is really important for week 3. And the reason for that is when we do stack alignment, let me pull that screenshot back up. You can see that at Hogwarts, I've got a $6,600 per month opportunity with Hogwarts. That wasn't magic, right? That was because I had said, I've got these 3 recommendations for Hogwarts. And so we then pull that over. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the platform. So I've built all of these recommendations for customer success. For creative designs. That was the list view. Here's the roadmap view that many are familiar with. When I go into customer success and select, nope, sorry, not stack alignment. I want to go into an individual customer detail. One of the things that we're changing probably, oh yeah, it's already active. There used to be, so Matt and Greg and a few others of you that marked the I could teach this class and I've done customer success. There used to be tabs across the middle with stack alignment, etc. It's now top right with a drop down. Gets a little more real estate on the screen. But that's how you're going to get to that functionality. Give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing for a hot minute and ask my internet to do better.
Hey, Marty. Coleman asked how you got to the calendar view.
Oh,
Sure.
left-hand side.
When you get a chance.
Yep. I'll do it. I'll share my screen again. Oh, my internet is it's painful over here, folks.
Coleman said he figured it out.
Okay, you found it. Good.
Save you.
Okay, perfect. All right.
While we're waiting, I guess I can provide music.
I was like, I know what song's coming. There, I found it. Don't worry, I saved you all. And the internet heard Mark was going to sing and said, "Hold up, let me get my act together."
That's cold-blooded internet. Cold-blooded.
In stack alignment, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take your services. And for example, for client heartbeat here, CSAT, they're using client heartbeat. I want them to use smile back. I could link this. I could create a new recommendation from here, or I could link to a recommendation if I'd already built one. So that's what's populating the dollar values to the right. So if I had one of these that was a smile back recommendation, I'll just say this one was it, even though it's not that. When I close it, you'll see it says, you have said both of these recommendations. Do you want me to populate the amount columns? And I'll say, yeah, go ahead and do that. Ooh, that messaging platform, that is pricey. Those are the things that are populating these 3 tiles: percent aligned, MRR opportunity, non-recurring revenue opportunity. So again, you can manually enter or you can add a recommendation. But the point is that you would really like to have recommendations on the VCIO side of the house so that so that you can populate it in there, right? Rather than having to recreate the entire time, anything that you've already built on the VCIO side of the house can feed into there. Any questions or comments on that? I don't see any new ones. Yeah.
So looking at this one here, for example, way on the end, 2024 Q2, it says monthly 500 and total cost 25,500. So where does that come from? Where does that big total come from?
Yep. So let's go in. I suspect that's because it was monthly and it's doing the entire range. So if you have a range set, it's saying the total value of that recommendation. So a lot of people have to they'll pick and choose. Do I want to see it as a total on the recommendation board? One of the things that we're actually looking at doing is letting you filter that out if you don't want to show the totals for some, because it's a little bit deceptive, right? It's a $500 a month, but seeing that 25,000 could freak people out a bit. So you can but that's what's making that dollar value land there.
So
That's
is there a
good
way to make it show up in quarter 2, but not have a date range?
Yeah, you can just, so the interesting part is there are two different ranges here. This date range at the top is what puts it into that column,
Yeah,
right? So that's what's saying Q2. This date range down here is saying, when are we doing the billing of it, right? How long are we actually charging? So what many of our partners do is they put this in as a 1 month begin and end date for the sake of the conversation. And then they update this date once it's approved.
I think you can also put in a begin date and no end date. I think that's possible too.
So that there are lots of permutations of that. So I
Yeah.
don't want to get caught lying if I say you definitely can, but that is what you're playing with. Is this one here is the one that the one at the top puts it on the board. The one at the bottom puts it in the budget.
Okay, yeah, actually, I just looked at one that I have. I have a begin date, but no end date.
And that does
And-
it for you.
Oh, no, it still put the total cost in. I don't know how it figures the total. Oh, it's putting because there's a range at the top.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it probably defaults to that at the top. Greg, I'm so glad you joined us because I feel like, if anybody can answer this question with me, it's Greg, because I feel like we've gone through this one.
Begin
Greg,
date with
thoughts?
no end date on the new recurring costs section, I think shows no recurring costs.
At all.
Because that's how I
Oh.
used to do it. I used to put no end date because I didn't like showing 13 years of costs and having people freak out
Yeah.
when they saw the number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't put 1 month on there, Marty. That's what I'm going to start doing. Hey, that's just the monthly price.
Yeah.
I started putting 5 years on there because I would tell people expect to have the contract for about 5 years and then reevaluate if you still want it.
Gotcha. But now, yeah, just to do it as 1 month. And then when that conversation's over, right, you can update it. So in the article, in the doc that I shared, and again, Mark, can you reshare this in chat? Because some people came in after I shared it. We've gone through kind of the prep. So again, if you want the automation, contracts, tickets, and CSAT, if you have it, recommendations and cadence are going to impact reporting and ease of use as we move forward. The next piece we really wanted to look at is, what is your role, right? Are you a customer success manager, account manager, what do these letters make your job? Are you a director of CSMs, or are you a tenant admin in the platform? It matters based on what you might see or what you might want to see. So what I wanted to do was explain the different pieces, and then you can say, okay, by next week, I need to get my settings upgraded so that I can see what it is I need to see. If you are a customer success manager, again, account manager, account exec, VCIO, etc., when you log in, first, we've already talked through, if you don't see customer success, you need to turn that on. When you click into customer success, do you see data? If you see companies and data, then you're probably good to go. If you don't, there are a couple options for you. If you are a manager of customer success managers or a director of customer success managers, do you see customer success admin? That's the next question in the little flow chart, right? When you log in, do you see this admin option here? And then really important question below that is, when you click on customer success account settings, can you actually click into the account permissions page? If you can't, I gave you the options of what we need to do and where you can go to get help, right? Your tenant admin can upgrade you. One of the things that we are changing, but right now, the only way you can see this page in customer success is if you are a tenant admin. By this weekend, we will probably update that. But just so you know, in the short term, that will allow you to build these groups. Now, this will be brand new for everybody because they launched it yesterday at 3:00 in the afternoon. So this is a new one for folks, is this report right here. We have a couple of things. So if you are a manager of account managers, you can decide, should account managers see all of the clients in the platform, or do you just want to see a subset? So if I only had 37 accounts, I probably would just want to see my 37 accounts. I don't need the noise of everybody else's accounts. So that means I'm a customer success account manager and I have 37 accounts that I want to be associated to. So I would have a Marnie Stockman account and I would be listed as a manager. So if you manage folks, you can say, I want X, Y, or Z to be an account manager and assign them to accounts. If you're good with everybody seeing everything, you probably don't want to do this because they'll just have access to everything. And then you don't have to go and click all the companies for them. If I've decided I am an account manager, then it will create an account group for me. So here's Marnie's accounts. And I go in and assign the individual companies for my accounts. So this will let me that means when I log in as this account, I'm only going to see those companies. But it also means you can filter and so when you see Marnie's accounts, it filters all the reports just by my accounts. So that is account manager and account group, right? Those are the account manager is the human that you're saying is in charge of this. Account group is the companies associated with that human or a vertical. I do highly recommend this. If you have strong verticals, I would create an account group per vertical. Lawyers, manufacturers, dental offices, because we're going to be able to filter all of the reports by those verticals. And it's very interesting to say like, oh, none of my lawyers have MFA. None of my manufacturing offices have firewalls, right? Like whatever it may be. It helps you focus your sales opportunity and your marketing message. So it's very interesting to do those verticals. So you would create a new account group. And this one, again, could be law offices. And then you would just go in and grab the companies that were in fact law offices. Probably not Get Well Medical, let's face it. You could also grab account managers if specific account managers were associated to it, but you don't have to. So that's what is populating this report and creating your filters. And when I go to company groups, I now have all of my companies listed down the left-hand side, along with which groups they're associated to. So if you need to clean up a company, you don't have to go into each individual group and get them out. So questions on kind of the account management, grouping, security roles, et cetera.
So just to confirm, companies can belong to multiple groups. So I could have my verticals, and then I could also have my VCIOs tied to certain groupings. And if I like that, so best practice for us might be we could deploy grouping for the VCIOs. I can choose my filter at the top. It's only messing with my people, my group client grouping, my other VCIOs messing with his. And not
you can
cluttering
always
up me.
multi-select in the filtering too. So you could create kind of a regional group, or you can always go in and say, all right, Alex and Kurt and Nick are my VCIOs, right? And it'll filter the report by the superset of them.
Gotcha.
And then you can also filter by account group there.
Marnie, we don't have strong verticals. But we do have 3 tiers of what we sell. So we have our top tier, our middle tier, and our bottom tier. We did that. This is where we did that? That's not a tag route. That would be account groups. That
you probably have that for both your stack and account group. So this is one of those places where you do have it twice, but I think that's a great use case. Billy, I will email you the recording. Sorry, I just saw that. But yeah, I think that's, so if you didn't, for those of you that didn't hear, I think Greg's use case is a good one. Create, if you've got different product service offerings, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 type of thing, to create those as groups, you can then filter by that as well. I think that's really good. Other ideas for groups that you might want to include in the account groupings. I know that we have several companies now that are massively acquiring lots of other companies. So some of them have created groups for their acquired companies, right? So we just bought all of Phoenix and their Phoenix clients are in there so that they can kind of see where they're aligned, et cetera.
Where do we set up groups? I
Yeah.
can't find it in customer success.
Okay. Do you have the customer success
Yep.
account settings? Okay. And do you see account permissions?
Yep.
And then to set up a group, you should go to account group. Sorry,
Okay.
you have to click on the account group one and build the group.
Okay.
They literally just built that other report for me yesterday. So there's some more bells and whistles they're going to go add in there. All right.
We recently assessed all our clients and scored them 1 to 5 based on TA, support team, VCIO feedback. So we could flag them in that grouping of what tier we placed them in as we try to prioritize and make business decisions about our clients.
The other piece is you might want to use that as your health score because you can filter all of the reports by health as well, right? So if we use that as the health score, now we only have 1 through 3. So if you want 1 through 5, for sure, keep it as a group, but that'll be good to keep in mind for the health as we go, because that'll color them along the way. All right. So far we've done the intro, we talked through the prep, and we talked through security groups. So this is where I'm going to make sure we understand the homework, and then I'm going to give you a sneak peek into some of the functionality that's coming out. So I know if I save that to the end, I get like maximum attention, right? But I do want to make sure everybody's got their homework. So you want to make sure that you've got in this is the homework page. Go through and check off as many of these as we can. And then make sure that you can see what you need to see in the platform. I outlined the roles as they stand today. Today, to set up account permissions in customer success, you must be a tenant admin. Again, we're going to adjust that to create some more flexibility, but right now you quite literally have to have the tenant admin role in VCIO in order to be able to have that. Today, if you are a tenant user plus CS, you automatically inherit what companies you see from VCIO. So if you just logged in, had never been in there before and see companies, that's how you landed there. The account groups allow you to filter by whatever companies you put in those groups. And if a person's assigned to an account manager in CS, they will only see the companies they've been added to. So if I saw everyone and then somebody just made a Marnie company and added 1 company in there, I would then only see that company. So we're going to add some other flexibility around there to make it a little bit easier so you don't have to select all the companies. But just so you know, if you used to see everything and then suddenly don't, we can correct it, but that's what's going on there.
Okay.
All right. So then next up, let's show some other things that are going to be coming. Now, I'm going to show you all of these pieces and parts. Know that some of these parts, even though I'm in the VCIO side of the house, they will only exist if you have customer success turned on. So I mentioned at the beginning that we're really starting to track momentum and we want to see the effectiveness of our business reviews. The business reviews happen in VCIO, but the tracking of all of this work happens in customer success. So there will be a difference for folks who don't have all of the pieces in their platform. So just be aware of that as we go along. First up, just something minor, but we're always aiming to make everything prettier along the way. And so we've updated some of our charts a bit. Oh, it's not in this one. I'll come back to that. Let me go to business reviews because this is really the more important piece. If I go into the business review page, I'm pulling off a development. So it is a bit of a slow roll, but I think it's worth it. First, you are now going to be able to score business reviews based on whatever metrics you would like to. So I'm glad you like that, John. So right here where you see business review standards, did the business review manager show, right? Yes or no? You can ask any number of questions. So let's actually go do that. In account settings, in business review manager, I am going to click on standards. So I'm going to say, I actually want this to say decision maker, right? That's an important way. If I'm going to score my business reviews, did the decision maker show? I also want to know if did recommendations get accepted? And did stack alignment improve? Now we have that data, of course, in the customer success side of the house, but we don't know it at that moment, right? Because they haven't actually done the project that you sold them, right? Did we make sales? Did the project manager show? Did whatever you want this to see, this is completely customizable for you so that when I go into a business review, again, I can actually score that individual business review. Yes, no, yes. Right. So imagine the reporting that we're going to build on the customer success side, where I'm going to be able to say, oh, Marnie's business reviews are running at a 50%. Greg's business reviews are running at a 90%. Maybe Marnie should go sit in on Greg's business reviews and find out what he's doing there, right? Because he's moving the needle for his clients, et cetera. So we're aiming to get better visibility into our business reviews. Some other pieces here, you'll note in the sort of middle-ish, linked recommendations. You will now be able to link an individual recommendation to a business review. Why do we care about that? Well, if we can tell you that this recommendation is stale and it's been in 3 business reviews, or you've had 3 business reviews since you brought up this recommendation, it'll help us bubble to the top some notifications for you of like, is this client actually not all that interested in your services? We learned one of the number one things to identify churn for MSPs is even if they are paying your monthly recurring revenue, if they're never buying additional projects from you, they are at risk of churn. So if all of your recommendations are stale and we can track that over time that they've been delivered, we'll be able to bubble that up to you and say, you might really want to go see what's going on here. Another piece, the top center here, you can now associate a business review to a specific account manager. So in customer success, you could always associate a company to an account manager, but now we can say this actual business review was done by this human. And then Jeff, I think I'm going to answer some of your questions when I hit the scheduler. And honestly, this is my favorite update. So I'll be curious what the rest of you think. Would really love feedback on what you think on this. Because folks have been asking us a lot about KPIs for themselves or for business reviews. So now we're going to level to the top how many you've completed, how many you have to deliver, how many are past due, and how many are skipped and canceled. If you click on the plus for the legend, Jeff, here's your answer on like what all the little icons mean, right? You can see what they mean here, but you can also now start filtering this. So I could say, I really don't want to look at the next 12 months. I want to look at the last 2 months and the next 6 months. And so I want this to be my view, right? So I can see how I've done and what I've got coming up. You can manage columns. So you can, just like in our other reports, you can add and subtract columns from here. You can see this styling. We've sort of taken out some of the vertical grid marks and left justified everything, which kind of tidies up the chart. But what I like the most about this is well, let's face it, I like the colorful tiles because I think they give you some information, but I also am all about filtering data. So if I want to see just my business reviews as opposed to all of my meetings, so now I can hide some of the noise. I don't really want to see my scheduled phone calls. I just want to see my scheduled business reviews. Or I want to see everybody that's supposed to be done quarterly. Are they actually happening quarterly? If you look at that, zero of my folks that were supposed to be doing quarterly business reviews actually got their business review done on time. Right. So now you're really starting to get into what we always said in education. What is inspected is what is expected. If you're truly calling them quarterly business reviews and they're not happening quarterly, we probably need to get that in check. You could select by a company contact. That's just if you need to get to them quickly. You could just multi-select some companies or a specific account manager. I just want to see all of Alex's accounts to see how he's doing. What I think is he's slacking and he's only got one client. So I'm gonna assign him some more clients because he needs to do some more is what I say about that. You can also quickly show to companies that don't have meetings so that you can actually set them up for success. So what do we think of that? I like these pieces and parts. Yeah, good.
So I think that's great. What I was asking was if you have if I have a business review scheduled and I have a monthly check-in scheduled, I can't differentiate them at the moment. I don't think.
We can create new meeting types. Now you won't be, the icons look the same, but if we go down into account settings, and my guess is I get you 70% of the way there, and we might have to add a little more functionality to get you the rest of the way. But if I go into Business Review Manager, I can create the different types, right? Yep. So, and I'm going to turn them on. So I've got, business review. Yeah, the rest of these are okay. Phone meetings in there. So then when I go to business reviews, and let's set this one. Okay, that one's a virtual meeting. Let me go into this one. And let me not forget this date, because that's normally what I do is I go do something and then I lose it because I forget so we'll call this one a phone meeting. And save it. When I go back into the schedule review, so that was in 2020. I need to remember that. I'll custom this and I'll just select all of 2020. And if I go and say, I just want to see my phone meetings, that one should have popped up. Oh, I don't see it. Well, let me just see I'll do my monthly internal. And my business review filters. I'm not seeing any phone meetings in there. So I'll have to see why that didn't save as a phone meeting, but that's what you should be able to do, but the icons themselves don't change.
So
right.
yeah, I guess so. The icons don't change, but then do you end up with two rows for the same client, one for business review and one for?
You don't. It just picks the default one as the main one. So I think I'm going to add that as so if you have multiple meeting types, we want to be able to filter out or filter away. We've had the request where we could set two cadences, right? We want a monthly phone cadence and a quarterly business cadence. So I think that whatever solves for that, this would be the same type of thing. I do know.
And I was even looking at it, not necessarily filtering it, but even on that view, even mousing over the calendar icon, if the mouse over would pop up the type of meeting, that would probably do it as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Mouse over. I think the other piece that I know we've heard recently is a few folks would like us to add a triannual, so kind of every 4-month cadence. So, because that one's a hassle, like it's not, it's not easy just to take some out. So if you only wanted it 3 times a year, I think they're aiming for that as well. Oh, I forgot to add one more thing in the recommendations. I feel like this is a good one. Oh, let me switch back to creative designs. This will be in VCIO. So those pieces that I just showed you, again, they're existing in VCIO, but they will, like the tiles on top will show if you are a VCIO only partner, but the scoring of the QBR, et cetera, will only turn on if you're in customer success. This part that I'm showing you now will be for all clients. Is you can add tags to your recommendations. So Greg Webb, you can prioritize. I know. I was like, I think you were the one that asked for this originally. So I saw your eyes look up and go like, yes, I wanted that. So how could we use this? Greg will probably use it to prioritize, like, these are my priority recommendations. You'll be able to filter by the tags. So anything that you might want to filter. One of our partners asked us, we want to have core recommendations, right? This is a firewall. That's a core piece of our product. This recommendation is not fluff, but something that's not security based. This is that they want maybe website development done, right? So more ancillary type of thing. So you could tag your recommendations. Then when you are in the recommendation roadmap, this gets a little bit of an update too. First, I think it looks a little prettier. They've put the statuses at the top, but if they have tags, you can see down here, their core tag. I can now filter by the tag. So if I want to know which recommendations have been made on my core services, I could filter by that.
That's great.
Thank you. If nothing else, we life cyclers like to tag our stuff and filter by it. I definitely do. So I would love to hear other ideas for what folks might use the recommendation tags for.
I would love it if the recommendation tags matched the tags that were in stack alignment.
Stack alignment. Should we auto populate them? I
would like that option. That way we don't have to touch twice. The other thing that I have run into, and this may be just a suggestion for dev, is templates that are universally or potentially globally applied. So say I have a new product that's for everyone and it's going to cost $500. I'm going to recommend it to everyone. It's a new thing or whatever. It'd be nice to not have to do that with every partner, each one, and create it each time.
I think we will do that on the customer success side of the house where you have the stack. So we would basically say if they don't have this stack, it will recommend that recommendation.
Yes.
In VCIO, that's not easy for us to see that it would be relevant, but on that side, you basically already qualified that client as applicable.
Yeah, exactly. And that idea that you could, if in there, that's where you could link it to an existing recommendation. If it had like a global thing to link that recommendation to, that would be perfect.
That's exactly. So I just want to click through that to make sure I'm thinking what you just said. It would be that when you are in Stack Manager and you've said PSA, that in addition to saying what's preferred, it would be plus recommendation template here. That would basically force that recommendation onto.
Yes, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I think that's the way we had talked about it, because I know you had suggested it, but I feel like I've heard that same theme from a few others.
Probably my colleagues. I get them all to reach out to you. So
that is the way to do it, right? If you're a member of a peer group, you'd be like, all right, everybody sign up for Lifecycle. Now everybody go ask for this. I can tell when different peer groups meet because I will get like 4 of this. Like, I haven't talked about that in like a month and a half. What is up with that? And then I find out we have a spy somewhere that's out. I like it. I'm all for it. Associates a recommendation template to an item. Okay, got it. That makes sense. So those of you that have been on our other boot camps, I think also know that it's a good time to sort of really say, okay, what other functionality do we need to really make this useful and helpful? So we're certainly adding pieces from what we have heard before. I don't think any of you are shy, but again, always feel free to let us know. This week, like I said, was going to be a setup week. So I just want to make sure everybody's prepped for next week. I'm going to go back into the slide deck real quick and see if I had anything else. The last piece, again, I had just made the little checklist, was if any of you are real customer success nerds and are always looking for another book that that really speaks to the customer success way of thinking, I'll share this slide deck, but these are some of the ones that I like or have written. I was just, we'll just make that clarification. So any ahas from today, requests for next week, or shout outs for the dev team, because they always deserve them.
I'll give you one. It's the same, we're fairly new users, we've been at it for 6 months or something, but it's the same feeling I get every time I see more of the tool. It's just an amazing tool, and it's going to do some amazing stuff for us if we can just figure out how to carve out the time to get it built out. So awesome job to you and the team as always.
Awesome.
Love some of that new stuff.
I've certainly been in the place, like that was the point of the story at the beginning. I've been in the place where all I did was spend all day, every day on the fires, and really had to force myself to think about, wait, have I seen the same fire 6 times? Can I hand this fire off to development and say, like, you need to fix whatever's causing this same fire so that we don't have to do that again, Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. Glad, Matt, you like the updates. Thank you. All right, so then the plan will be, well, here was today's plan, as I said. So this, how to gain traction and momentum. If you think about, and because I just let someone else in, I'm going to click through some of those new pieces again. We are going to start what we're putting in place next weekend. So not this weekend, coming up. So tomorrow on Friday's call, I'm going to walk through these new pieces and parts again. So feel free to pass, or feel free to come chime in some more if you've thought about them, or just join us for sharing best practices, because we like having lots of folks on that call. So this stuff will be released next week, but by the end of this boot camp, we're going to have reporting on this, sort of exception reporting. So which are my business reviews that are not getting done, right? Which of my account groups or my account managers have had all their business reviews, haven't completed business reviews, etc. So the 3 biggies that are coming out are, first, the scheduler view. We are going to have, again, those tiles. A lot of people have asked me recently, how can we set KPIs for ourselves, for our company, and for our account managers based on what's completed, what's upcoming, etc. So I think this is a big deal, along with the new ability to filter this report every which way from Tuesday, right? Instead of having to scroll through all of your clients, I think that is a big win. I'm adding 2 more votes plus the 3 head nods I got to what John mentioned, the link recommendation to a stack. So that's the first piece in the scheduler. In the business review itself, the next update that will be coming out will be the ability to associate an account manager to a business review, right? So now if we're going to score them, we can associate an account manager to them. You can create your own questions around, how do I want to score a business review? And I think that's really important to think about internally. When we first built this, we had the notion that there are 4 things that can help you see that one of your clients has momentum and are at less risk of churn. 1, are the right people coming to the business review? 2, are the business reviews getting done on the cadence which I said they needed to get done? 3, are they approving and accepting recommendations? And 4, are they becoming more and more aligned to my stack? So if these are the 4 questions that we're answering, right, and that's what's scoring a business review, we're then going to create the report to say, here's 7 clients that don't have good business review scores quarter over quarter, right? That might be something to look at. And again,
does the customer see that when they look at the business reviews, the business review standards? Do they see that section?
That would be if you gave them, so that's a good no, because they don't have customer success.
Okay.
So this would be the piece that you have to have customer success for.
I mean, you can give customer success permissions to a customer, so.
You can't get the customer success platform. You can't. I'll double down and
Oh.
check on that. They can't get into the customer success side of the house. You have to be an internal user. JMac, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you've implemented any of the Kuhu type reactions for grading your VCIO meeting. So can they submit? And
that's a great question, because we just decided that we're going to do that. So instead of needing,
I don't want it, but it's the right
external-
healthy thing to do.
It is the right healthy thing to do. So what we're going to do is create basically a button where you could say, was the business review successful today, or whatever language you would want. We'll let you customize it.
Create several questions to
so that they can
see that score back.
And then the important part is, did your score of the business review match their score of the business review? Right. That's more to the point. But Lowell, I'm going to double check. I'm pretty sure Nick mentioned to me that you would only see these.
Because in the permissions, I can set up permissions for customer success.
Correct. But can you do that for external users if they're external?
It's just in the group, it's in the group, you know, so the group isn't an external group or anything. But anyways, I was just.
I want to double check on that for sure. CS permissions. I have a meeting right after this with the developers, because I knew I'd have feedback from everybody. So it'll be fresh on my mind. See our standards. And JMac, I do think that you're very right. For them to be able to score it and then compare it is the right thing to do.
And upstream of us to our leadership team to see how SBRs are going and how effective our VCIO team is.
Yeah. It's interesting that, you know, all of the pundits and coaches say that it's really the customer facing element that's differentiating businesses these days. As more things become commoditized, anything you can't chat GPT is going to differentiate your business, right? And so you need that that human element to do that differentiation. That reminds me, one of the things we're looking at is, and we've talked about this before, it's on our short-term roadmap, to add notes lots of places, but aggregate all in one place. So to be able to add the note in Report Builder or in when you're looking at assets, but to be able to aggregate in one place, I think is really important. That is more and more handy as you start really living in here all of the time. And again, new is the linking the recommendations inside a business review. And I will share all the votes for linking the stack to a recommendation template. And then lastly, for what's new, what'll be coming out next week is again, tagging. So this is in a recommendation. You can create a tag. And then you can filter all of the reports by those tags. So I want to see, let me actually go back to the other board. I want to look at this one. I want to filter by my core or anything that's been tagged with a recommendation. So that'll be super handy. And then that's what we're reporting out on moving forward.
Marnie, I was trying to hold back, but if you're meeting with the devs right after this.
I thought the twins must be sleeping. Greg's not.
Yeah. On this view, are you ever planning to give us control over the columns?
Yes. Yeah. We're updating a lot of them. So let me ask if that's, I feel like I know what was it did you want to add something, or you just wanted to hide like recurring cost or total cost or something? Is that right?
Most of the time, I just want to hide stuff so that when I do the report, when I print the report for the client, they just need kind of like high level. They don't need as many of these columns, and then just fits prettier on a page.
Yep. I do think that that's on the list.
And then when you switch to the roadmap view, is there any plan to give us control over a number of rows of repeating data? Because like here too, sometimes I just want to zoom way out, which I can't do. But I could, if I didn't need to show labor cost, material cost, replacement cost, recurring cost, total cost on every single tag, if I could just hide those for a second, then this would become a much more manageable planning page.
Yeah. So I know we have that one, and I'll just add a vote for that one because I know that's already on the list.
Okay, cool. I also would love it if the where I joined today, we were talking about the recurring item on a.
Yeah.
Those can become dissonant. I started this a year ago, but we're talking about it now, and I just moved the card, and now we're planning it for 2024. But the item that I added says start billing in 2021. It'd be nice if it were like would also move forward or tell me that they are conflicting.
I was gonna say probably just to tell you, like, do you want to resolve this somehow? If
Like,
you
do you want to move the recurring items to match? Yes, please. Start date, same.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have other things. I'll rest my case there.
I like it. That's like the first human I met with. All right, you gave me 100 things. Pick 10. Perfect. Well, thanks all for joining. You have your homework. I will see you next week, and we'll look at health and effort, etc. Have good ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.